Anyway.
Joe, is there any big news you have to share with us today?
No.
Okay, that's it, folks. Thanks. Be here all week.
An hour, ludicrous. Oh.
Well, so okay, hang on. I've got like 20 things up on my screen right now, and I'm not organizing them very well. Sorry, guys.
And you're just trying to find the one. So
this is only our 78th episode. You'd think I would have figured something out by now. Well, so there's a conversation that's been going on about the event that's happening right now, and whether or not it might have lasting impacts on the environment. And there's gradations in how we can talk about this, because you don't want to sound too flippant about the vast human misery that's going to be coming out of this thing and say, yeah, but the air is going to be cleaner. Calm down, right?
Yeah,
you can see the bottom of the Venice canals.
Right.
What's the problem?
Right.
So I don't want to sound like that. But there are some economists who have been kind of, trying to see what the ripple effects are in all kinds of directions. And there's always positive and negatives. And one of the positives might be that, several cities, their air is cleaner. There's been some satellite photography over China and shown, like in the areas where it was locked down, that, a lot less, we talk about carbon dioxide all the time, but if you park your car in a garage and turn it on, it's not carbon dioxide that's going to kill you. It's the carbon monoxide, and it's all the particulates and what is it? Nitrous oxide and whatnot that's in there.
Yeah.
Somebody's slamming their head on the table.
No, that's right.
Listening.
I remember
just
just that pollution video. Yeah, nitrous oxide and carbon monoxide are the two that'll kill you.
Yeah. So there's a couple of articles that I was looking at here. This one's from BBC, talking about pollution and greenhouse gas emissions have fallen across continents as countries try to contain the spread of the new coronavirus. Is this just a fleeting change, or could it lead to longer lasting falls in emissions? Now, this is all predictions, so there's no way to say definitively one way or another. So I'm not going to even claim that as we start talking about this that there's an actual answer here. But there was a guy. Ben, did you get the name of the guy that was on Freakonomics?
Well, it was a girl that was talking about it. Who was?
Oh, okay. Well, then there's two people that have been saying this. Then,
but it was a guy in the French ministry or something that is in charge of this for France, and he was talking about potentially more people are going to live now because the air is so much better. So the net, like, casualties will be a positive. Like, more people will actually live out of it.
Jeez.
And so it's kind of nuts to think, and I don't know, it was a kind of an offhand comment. It wasn't like we've researched this, and first off, you can't, because you can't predict this. The best, smartest data people in the world can't build a forecast model that is going to accurately predict any of this. So, take all of that with a grain of salt.
Dying from pollution is like decades of you being exposed to, carcinogenics. It's not that, we turned it off for a week, therefore a week of people won't die from pollution now. It's like, no, it was the previous 36 years next to the coal power plant that killed them.
So I did listen to this Freakonomics episode before we hopped on here this morning. It's Marshall Burke, an economist at Stanford, who was talking about this, on this one anyway. And they're always being very cagey. They don't want to overstate it, and they don't want to, they're very careful to be like, these are predictions. These are, not hard and fast rules or anything. But right here, it says, I calculated this reduction in pollution will likely save 50,000 lives across China.
See how?
Yeah, that's huge.
It says directly so far, there have been around 3,000 lives lost to COVID-19 in China. The number continues to go up, but China seems to have really turned a corner on this. So it's about 20 times higher than deaths saved from air pollution. So he's making sure that, again, we're not downplaying the actual problem that's going on here, but it's just a kind of an interesting discussion to have.
Let me share my screen
and so
right
this
here.
BBC, yeah, okay, here, I'll jump out there. This BBC article is basically arguing like, we're looking at this sort of like immediate impact of how fast the environment can actually clean itself
back
after we stop pumping crap into it,
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the longer term thing of when this comes out in, let's say, 6 months to a year, when we finally kind of get over all this and can get back to what is normal. The normal might have changed a little bit. A lot more people might be working from home.
Yes.
We might find a lot of the factories and stuff that we were doing didn't really need it. We might get more essential about the way we conduct ourselves moving forward. And that might be a temporary thing. We'll go right back to the extravagance and overspending and everything that we used to do. But
sorry to interrupt Ben and Joe, but one of my favorite stories on that topic is one of my family friends, a lawyer in DC or in the DC area, that twice a week has had to always go to Baltimore to file something manually with paper. Like they require it, and it's always been pen on ink in hand. Yeah. This trip twice a week, spending that's 8 hours probably a week just to do this dumb thing that they've always been like, why can't I just do this online? Well, now they can't turn it in, and they opened up a way to do it online.
Funny how that happened.
Efficiency. And all of a sudden it's like, duh. Like, think about how much more efficient that's going to be, and just even reducing traffic for, that one use case. But like, think about all these little tweaks of things that we used to do that now our backs up against the wall, and we have to open up new, streamlined, more efficient things. Like,
there's going to be some positives here, I think, is what you're getting
eventually,
at, right?
Yes. Once the misery's over.
Some changes. Like, obviously, not to downplay the suffering and the loss of life, but
loss of
jobs.
But
net, there's going to be some silver linings here and some takeaways. And I just wanted to show this chart real quick, Joe, because this is from Our World in Data, which is just tremendous at what they do. This was number of deaths by cause in the world of 2017, and respiratory diseases was third with 3.9 million people that died from respiratory diseases, and then the one below that is lower respiratory infections as well, and that's 2.56 million people. So these are all things that are really accelerated and kind of exacerbated by poor air quality. And so, depending on what study you look at, air quality is a huge problem. In fact, the video I did just a while ago, I looked at that in LA, and twice as many people die in LA every year from air quality related issues than people that die in car accidents. So if you think about car accidents, it's so tragic. Like twice as many people are dying from air quality issues. So it's insane. And so hopefully, as more data comes out, and this is truly, from a scientist perspective, an amazing experiment that they get to do, because how else could you be okay, entire world shut down?
Well, that's what I said a week or two ago. We never get that A/B test. We always get A. You get your thing. You never get to test it against something else, and all of a sudden we're forced to. And in the grand scheme of things, this period of time where we have just a variety of data and a variety of inputs will greatly increase our understanding of things like health, air quality, all of these things. We will now have a data set on, which is extremely fascinating.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that was in that BBC article is basically talking about how what's the right way to say this? We kind of been going the same way all this time, and then we put a pause on everything, and we see, oh, hey, the air is cleaner. Oh, hey, the water's cleaner. And it's we can actually affect this in some way. Because all this time there's always been this global warming, and everybody's saying, well, we can't really change this, we can't really change that. Well, clearly we can,
Right.
We took a step back. And that obviously that's not sustainable. We've got to get the economy going again. Eventually it's going to have to pick back up again. But if we can affect some changes that we were required and, by necessity had to take on in this period of time and carry that forward, we might see some real significant changes there,
Well, and even on a personal level for people, this might be one of the first times in a big city or in their lifestyle they see with their own eyes their change and the impact that each one of us has collectively. And it might add, even if it's only 5-10%, it might add to their perspective of maybe I will look into an electric car next, because I like being able to see downtown LA from, 15 miles away, or
or I like being able to charge it at my home and not have to go wait in line to get gas. Right.
I mean,
pure selfishness, but it's totally fine.
Well, just overall though, like things like seeing the water clean in Venice, it might make the locals go like, stricten up emissions and standards of boats and standards of pollution and even just things like I don't know, like garbage and stuff.
That was one of the arguments about. So, and I have a video coming out next week about kind of what. So, as far as everyone I read and follow from an economic standpoint, they all say we are in a recession now, and we don't know how long it's going to last, and the recovery, et cetera, et cetera. So, how is that going to affect, say, a company like Tesla, where they have higher priced vehicles, which with gas prices being super low and people being uncertain about financial stuff, how's that all going to work? And if you look at markets like China and Europe, they have extremely strict CO2 reduction goals. And so it's going to force the electric vehicle movement regardless. But yeah, hopefully this will put like a positive light to it instead of, hey, we're the government, you do what we say.
Right.
It'll be the I get to mow the grass, not I have to mow the grass kind of a thing.
Well, so Tim, your anecdote there about your friend that's the lawyer. Wait, did you say it was a friend of yours?
Yeah,
or it was just a
family
story?
friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect example of the little just dumb things that were traditional and hung on to for so long, and then it's like when it had to change, it did. Mm-hmm. It was something they could have done 10 years ago, and they just didn't.
A lot of it's probably government things. A lot of it's probably, local and state government, red tape, just, courthouse type of stuff. Yeah.
But, I mean, corporations can get just as, tied down by that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
But like, and Ben, I'm looking at you because you always did the workspace thing.
Yeah.
And we used to kind of go back and forth on that because I never had any interest in it. I wanted to work from home. And I could totally understand your side of it, that you wanted to go work over there, but now you're like, yeah, I'm here and I don't think I'm going back.
No, I love it. I love being home. For me, it's
Jenny's right around the corner with a gun. So you love being here.
Yeah. No, but it's it is. It's an interesting perspective. We're very social creatures, right? Humans are. So we still are going to need that. And I think it was another Freakonomics thing they were talking about this, saying, well, people are like companies are seeing the value of this now. And in fact, a lot of people, if you look at the data, are more productive at home versus being in the office. However, at a certain point, people start to feel isolated and lonely, and it becomes a mental health problem. So it's not a forever thing, I think, for really any company, just to be like, you're remote indefinitely, unless they're the kind of person that can work like that, because we do need some of that interaction. But you don't need to get that from your coworkers. That could be, from people you play basketball with or whatever. It could be
family. Yeah.
You need to get it from somewhere.
Well, totally. Totally. And back when I worked at the paper, it was like, I just fought tooth and nail with them. I almost feel bad for my manager because I was just such a pain about wanting to work from home. And the reason was because I was like, I go into the office and it's like the movie Office Space, where he's like, I just kind of sit at my desk and I just look like I'm busy, but I'm not really doing anything. And that's how I felt. It was like, I probably in my entire day of being up there at work, I maybe got like 2 hours of work done. And the rest of the time I'm just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could be doing something else. Like I always had side hustles and whatnot. I couldn't do that for my job. Right. And so that I think that's why I was the most annoyed by it, because I was kind of getting started on the YouTube and I always had these other projects and stuff. So there was that, but also just having to. I mean, it wasn't even a very long commute. It was about a 30-minute commute, which is actually pretty short for a lot of people living in big cities. But even that, I was just like, that is just wasted time and it's wasted gas.
8 hours a week gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then again, I'm at the office just sitting there most of the time.
Yeah.
So
what would be cool? Like, so when I, because I've had teams where I've had to put policies in place like this for things. And one that I like to do was, look, 1 day a week, you have to be here. Right? Like we had like Tuesdays was team lunch, and we would get lunch catered in. Mm-hmm. And it would be like, hey, everyone be here for team lunch. That way you at least for an hour or so get to see your coworkers. You get to ask them how their families are doing. You get to, kind of chew the fat, as we would say. Outside of that, if you want to work from home, every other hour of the week, be my guest. If you want to be here 100% of the time, be my guest. Like let's make sure let's set expectations. If you're gone, you're gone. We're not going to have a desk here for you that's permanent and yours. We're not paying for that, right?
Yeah.
But if you're here 100% of the time, we will. So let's set expectations, because humans are never just one thing or work in one way. We're not machines like that.
Yeah.
So you need to have some flexibility and some variability. And so, but my requirement was always like, we'd have a stand-up meeting in the morning that was 15 minutes long tops, and you could dial in if you weren't there in person. Outside of that, be there for Tuesday team lunch, and that was it. Other than that, no physical requirements, and people loved it. My teams that I manage always had the highest engagement ratings and satisfaction ratings about working there, because I don't know if I was enlightened, but I just knew that I didn't want to be doing those things. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, why should we? Why, like, questioning, almost like first principles thinking from a business standpoint. Like, why do you need to do this? Is there a value to it?
Yeah.
Well, and again, like, I hope that this just helps companies and individuals look at ways to be more efficient with their time, ways to be more efficient with their spaces. Because, think about how many people go to an office to sit at a computer and be on the internet. Like, they're not going to the office to plug into, a 2,000 terabyte server, to edit, high bandwidth video. Maybe they're literally probably sitting on email or doing things that you can do literally anywhere, and they're driving an hour a day to go do that, and then an hour back. Like, all the people that work at Facebook and Google can probably work from home.
Well, I'll tell you, I was going to bring that up, because when I was there at Facebook, that was something I kept asking about. Like, you do work from home, but you also have to be there. Like, they were very against remote workers. Yeah. And they felt that people were more productive on site. Now, granted, if you've never been there or have a clue of what that's like, it's like Disneyland for nerds, okay? So yes, you have a desk somewhere, but you also have copious lounge areas. On Facebook's main campus, we had, I think, 7 restaurants that were all free. So whatever you wanted, like, sushi or burgers or barbecue or whatever you wanted, all free, all awesome. And then they have like a wood shop and like bike trails, and they had a gym with like one of the top CrossFit athletes in the world being your coach every day, all for free. There was a dry cleaning, a dentist, like everything. So the idea was like, just come here and everything else is taken care of for you, so you can have this ultimate creative freedom and be productive. And I think there is some truth to that. But that is a company that makes like, $50 million per employee in terms of revenue, and they can afford to do those things. Most companies, I think, should definitely be taken to heart. Like, how can we have more flexibility? And they'll end up saving money in the end, which is the irony of the whole thing.
Yes.
What
if this is the straw that breaks the camel's back for people owning a car, because they're now working at home, and then they're like, what if I only had to like Uber 3 times a week to the things that I'm going to go do? They're going to be used to like, I can do everything here that I need, and then just go Uber or rideshare or, whatever every now and then. Wouldn't that be? Yeah. Who knows what the ripple
another
effects
thing that was in
be.
that BBC article was, it was saying, and I can't remember where it was. I don't feel like going back and searching for it. But basically, in some city, they had to shut down car traffic or curtail it for some reason, and it found that some people who were, say, driving their cars to work every day and then got on public transportation because they had to, because of this thing, whatever it was, when the thing ended, a certain decent percentage of them kept doing the public transportation because it was just like, all right, this is fine. I'm saving money and it's better for whatever reason.
I love public transportation when it's good.
Yeah. Because you can still do stuff. You can still, like, you can be on your phone or whatever.
Yeah. I used to commute from North County, San Diego to downtown by the coaster, an actual like heavy rail train, not like a trolley, but a train. And that thing, and it took me about an hour and a half each way. So it was a long commute, but I didn't care. I would hop on it and I would be on email. I'd be eating breakfast, or I'd be sleeping, reading the news, whatever the hell I wanted. And then I'd get into the office around 10 a.m. and then I would be there until about 2, and then I would leave, go to the gym, and then hop back on the train again. But the whole time I'm on the train, I have like, you know, a little MiFi hotspot. Like I'm productive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when public transportation works, it's fantastic. I think I absolutely prefer it. We've even been thinking about going down to just one car, which would definitely be my wife's
From 7 cars to 1.
We have 3. And we're having a 4th one soon.
Jack needs one, obviously. So
he has one. Yep, he has a Tesla, a little mini radio flyer one,
and a real one. Let's be real. And he's probably getting a Roadster.
Yeah, but we thought about it. It's funny because one of the things we've thought about for our house here was to build a 2nd story above our garage and have that be like mine and Jenny's master suite. So like. The kids, you little hellions, can do whatever you do in the house. We're gonna retire to our like suite with the view and like make it just super nice. And we're like, man, it's so much money. I'm like, well, how about we sell the Model X and we just pay for it with that? She was like, yes, like I'm listing it today. Like, get that thing out of here. Give me that 2nd story. You know. Yeah,
especially if you have a Model Y. Yeah. So speaking of, are we ready to move on from our random tangent about things?
What else you got?
Joe, it looked like you were about to say something though.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate that, you know, looking for a positive silver lining in this whole mess, I think is probably a good thing. I mean, focusing on the positive is better than focusing on the negative, but I also don't want to be flippant about like the real human suffering that's going on out there. And we're talking about some big changes, and that always comes with a lot of
uncertainty.
Well, a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of scared people, and just there's a lot of people that are going to suffer through all this. And I just don't want to sound flippant about it. Like, I got really affected last night, and I'm not trying to bring this whole thing down or anything, but do you know who Adam Schlesinger is?
I don't think so.
Okay. Maybe not. Maybe most people don't know him like I do. He was the songwriter for the band Fountains of Wayne. He also wrote a lot of music from movies, like That Thing You Do. He wrote the music for that.
Oh yeah.
He is one of my very top favorite songwriters from the last 20 years. He died yesterday from COVID-19.
Really?
And like, I was almost in tears last night over it. I just could not believe of all the people, he was the one that got taken.
Wow.
So this thing's starting to feel more real to me now.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway.
No, but that's kind of, it's a good reminder that specifically the 3 of us talking about this, like, oh, it's this big thing. Again, we mentioned this a few weeks ago. Our lifestyles really haven't changed that dramatically. I know that we kind of live in our own little bubbles here, and but at the same time, like I'm always one of those people that I want to start looking into hopefully a better future, and that's kind of what this podcast is our ludicrous future. So yes, we're here with you guys, and just hang in there, because I think in the long run, put your head down, do some new things, ride out the tide, and or whatever the sayings are or whatever, but I think in the long run, and 2-3 years, we'll look back at this and be like, oh, that was a pivotal moment in
sometimes
the 21st
it takes
century.
a massive thing like this to create the change that needed to come years before that.
Yep, hit some reset buttons. Hey, thanks for checking us out, guys. I hope you enjoyed this clip from our podcast.
We do a weekly show here on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe to Our Ludicrous Future, where we discuss all the things that are going to make our future totally ludicrous.
You can join us here on YouTube or at any of your favorite podcast places. Plus, if you want to get some behind-the-scenes stuff and join a cool community, you can help support the channel at patreon.com. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.